Bienvenidos todos, 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 todos. Hoy es lunes. I can't believe it is Monday, but it's my happy Monday. Mondays are a happy day for me because I get to share my space with wonderful people, including you. Today we have a guest that I've been after her for a while, but timing is everything. But before I introduce you to our guest, I want to thank a couple of people for their generosity, their love, their comments, their questions, even their criticisms sometimes. I really want to thank Michael Newman for, keeping it together, sending encouraging messages all the time. My boy B, thank you so much. Wanda, thank you so much. I want to thank Higher Ground Church that I was invited to by my girl Marisol because she knew that I became an orphan for a little bit there for a worship place. And she invited me, and I just have to tell you, it was a beautiful service, beautiful people. I felt the love. I don't even know the name of the pastor. It doesn't matter. He was amazing. He was great. It was under a tarp. It was just amazing. It was just a great experience. And this comes from an old Catholic girl. And I was hallelujah my way all the way. So the music was incredible. The people were amazing, and the diversity as well. I also want to tell you that for those of you who inboxed me and knew that we had lost several people and were concerned about me and what that meant to me, I am so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, because every message is helpful. Every piece of, every nugget that people can share. I did this when I lost a friend, when I lost this, when I lost that. That's so valuable. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias a todos ustedes que siempre me llaman o me buscan o me dicen, Lili, ¿dónde estás? ¿Qué estás haciendo? El camino cambia para todo el mundo. Y este año y el año pasado ha cambiado para muchas personas. Las vidas de nosotros han cambiado. Pero nuestra invitada de hoy, yo creo que la vida de ella ha cambiado continuamente y se las presento en un ratito. Algo muy especial que dejarles saber es que vamos a comenzar a contar las historias de otros porque creo que nos hemos perdido un poquito en las historias. There's many, many stories that people are not talking about, or we do these little bites and they're sexy for a little bit and then they're gone, and people's pain is not going like that. I mean, I wish I had the magic pill, trust me. In my own recovery, I was asking for the magic pill. Somebody give it to me. Whoever has it, I want it. But it didn't happen that way. So I really want to thank everybody who stays with me, who checks in with me, who says, where are you going to be next? And I know it's really hard to understand when I say I got to take a pause, I got to process, I got to wait for some answers. But my boys are still hooked up. My boys always call me. They check in with me. We are very, very close. So that said, les puedo decir que hay un librito, porque se le puede decir un librito, ¿verdad? Que es un librote. Do you guys know what I mean with that? Anybody let me know if you know what I mean. There's a small book that it's a huge book. There's a book that I discovered because I met this woman that we will see in a few minutes, actually at a conference of a sister who got cold in the pandemic, which was Tina Marie. And she spoke, and I heard her speak, and then I said something in Spanish. She said something in Spanish back. We laughed and exchanged that, that Latin flavor type of thing. And I saw her again at two other events, and she was also one of the awardees, I think, at one of the events that we were, and there she was again. So I took that as a sign. But there was not a bigger sign than when I saw the book. And I saw the book in social media, and I followed her because I liked what she had to say. But I fell in love, and that's kind of like a dripping love, painful love when I read this book. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not waste any time. I am not ashamed to tell you that I want this guest 3 times. I already told her, she already agreed. It is impossible to carry on this story in one interview. It is unfair to her story. It is unfair to us. It is unfair to the teaching of her story. How does one person once you meet her and you hear the story, how does one person still hold on to God after fighting the devil for so many times? It's like a boxer never winning and still getting up, and never winning and still getting up in the ring. And you're going, dude, okay, you don't have a head anymore. They knocked it all out, and gets right back there in the ring. I'm proud to say that she did agree to an interview and to multiple interviews. But just to give you a little bit of an insight, esta dominicana, rica, linda, bella, is not afraid to be herself, to talk about God, to talk about her struggles, to not deny the struggles and the value. She's a mother of 3 or 4. 4. 3. I added one more. You want my grandbaby? She's in the green room. Of 3 girls, there's pictures in her book of the girls, her message to her daughters, how she grows up being a mother. I've never heard a book that talks to their daughters as she is growing up herself. So if you happen to be just like me, that we wish we could write to our daughters or our sons and let them know that we too were growing up as we were helping them, it's beautiful. And how do you become a parent when you have very little parenting around you? There's a beautiful love story here. There's a survivor of 911. There's so much. Ladies and gentlemen, with us and proud and grateful to God is our sister, Miosotys Santiago. She'll be on screen with you in a few seconds, and you will see her. There she is. I heard they call you Mio.
Mio.
Is that acceptable in Lily Sin Barreras, or have I not earned the stripes? Because you know there's certain people have to.
You earned it. You earned the Mio.
Okay. Miosotys, God's diamond. How does someone? Because I have. You see all this yellow stuff, folks. This is me going back and forth, going back and forth. So, Miosotys, you are born from the day that you were born, and you say this in your book. The devil's been trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And she explains it in the book. And for any of us who've been in the room and gave birth to a child, if you read it and your baby hits the floor, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think it's going to happen? Miosotys, tell us what inspired before we get into surviving 911, losing the love of your life, losing the love of your life a second time, surviving domestic violence, being a single parent, having to watch your parent, your mother, get incarcerated by something that maybe somebody else would not have gotten incarcerated for the years that she did, and still loving. And may we say that your father is probably watching over you right now. This woman has just lost her father.
A month
ago. She just lost her dad. And you've been doing incredible stuff. And you lost some other loved ones as well, right, Mio?
Mm-hmm.
So this is, again, you're in that ring. Girl, I don't even want to go close to you because I'm afraid.
No.
I'm afraid somebody may push me into the ring with you, and I'm just going to sit down.
No, I need a hug. I need your hug.
Miosotys Santiago, señoras y señores, Miosotys es dominicana bilingüe, bicultural, but we're going to do this one in English. I will translate some of it in Spanish because I want them to hear your heart and your soul, girl. God's diamond. Where does this come from?
That comes from a broken place that I learned to nurture and allow God to come in and heal. He brought all the brokenness that was inside of me and can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just comes from a broken place. It comes from a place that needed to be watered and poured into and nurtured and loved. It was a place that I put away for a very long time because I really didn't have time to nurture the brokenness within me. And that came from me being a little girl to growing up. Life happens. So the book came right at the right time where I felt that the world needed to hear my story because it's so compatible to so many stories out there that women are going through, but they're afraid to talk about it. They're
I
in.
think men can benefit from this as well.
Yes, I actually had a man from Virginia he bought my book. He loved it so much he bought 5 books, and he said he was going to give it to his friends so they'll know the importance of a man being a father in their daughters' lives. So even the men are benefiting from the book. Yes.
So God's Diamond, it's very interesting because if you guys, and we're gonna buy some from her, because that's what we do in Lilies y Barrera, we support one another. But there's a little girl here with this amazing hat and a very beautiful look. You're looking at whoever's taking the picture, which is adorable, which
Hmm.
unfortunately is not adorable when you're 52, because I still do that. Not so adorable. Um, Tell me about this picture that you chose for the front cover.
So when me and the publishing company started talking about the picture, I prayed on it, and me being and now an inspirational speaker. Everything that I do at the end of the day, my intentions is so that God gets the glory, not me. So I submitted a few headshots, and they wanted me to, there's certain poses that women take with the hands crossed and the suits on and the boss, the boss pose. When it came to my book, this book was so personal to me that the only picture that came to mind was the picture of me as a little girl, because that I wanted the reader, when they pick up the book, to look at the little girl, but look at the little girl within themselves, or look at the little girl in their life, or look at just the little girl in general. This is the little girl that was untouched. She was still pure. Life hasn't happened for her yet. She was probably smiling at her daddy when he took the picture. And she was just in a very safe place. And I was 3 at the time. So I decided to take this picture and put it in the book because I want, when you finish the book, not for you to focus so much on my story, but focus on how God brought me out of the story. So God gets the glory. So I want, at the end of the day, that people will pick up the book and see the picture, to see the little girl in me. Even though I'm a 52-year-old woman, I still have and still have a little girl in me that's still healing. It's a life.
I hear you. I want to say hello to Wanda, who's with her. Angélica, qué lindo verte de nuevo. A mi mamá. We're going to be in trouble today. A mi mamá and my boy, Michael Newman, that's with us. Share, share, share. And I must ask you because the story is powerful. There is this little girl that is born into this familia, and I love that you use that word in your book, mi familia, because we are caught in this cross-cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
And do you hear an accent? Anybody can tell me where you think that accent comes from? Do you hear an accent? Because I love when she gets talking. I love it because it just comes out. But as we smile, let me tell you that when you read her book, you cry, you scream. I did, at least. I cried. I got angry. I wanted to hug her. So you walk through stages in this book. I'm sorry. And if you read it in a group, even better, because you get to discuss it. So as little girls, I don't think we, at least our generation, Mio, you tell me, we're not taught certain things because no parent thinks that certain things are going to happen to us, right? We don't discuss that, our private parts are our private parts. This one is not supposed to touch you. That one is not supposed to touch you. Nobody should be touching you, even if they carry your last name, look like you, married your mama, did whatever, or are your papas. This is not something we really talk about. And how do you talk about it? And we've had the Doctora Figueroa here saying you got to talk about it when they're little, little, little. What happens to Mio's innocence? Let's start there.
So what happened to my innocence started around when I was it was young, around 7, 8 years old. Um, I started um, being brought to a family member's house like any other. When we having party, family. uncles, aunts. We're visiting each other. No one ever really thinks about the children or their especially the older generation. Oh, go kiss your uncle. Go. They never really worried about you sitting on a man's lap as a little girl, of how that might have been, um, promoting something. So it happened basically when I used to visit a certain family member's house, and we were left to get babysat by the male. And it started with these little games playing hide and seek. And for some reason, every time we played hide and seek, he would find me. And after he found me, he would play a little tickling game. I found you, tickling me. And he was actually touching private parts. Um, After couple of times, I started feeling uncomfortable, and I knew that something was wrong. But back then, how do you tell your Spanish Dominican mom that that's happening, especially if you know that she's aggressive and she's a fighter and she will do whatever it takes to protect her daughter. So I chose to keep it to myself because I didn't want my mother to get in trouble.
So Mio, can I pause right there? I hope you guys can appreciate this. A child makes a decision. A child makes a decision to protect their parent. The child is not even thinking about protecting themselves. The child is thinking about, and there's many of us out there, a child is thinking, I don't want my mama to be upset. I don't want my mama to cry. I don't want my mom to kill this person because she will. Um, I'm protecting my parent already at a very tender age, sacrificing safety, quality of life, trust at a very early age. You made that decision.
Yeah.
It's a huge decision to make.
Mm. I was given the responsibility at a very early age. By the time I was two, my youngest daughter, my youngest sister was born. Every 2 years, there was a child being born. So by the time I was, 4, there's there's two younger sisters, and by the time I was like almost 7, now I had two sisters and a brother. So I was the oldest. And at that time, my mother and my father, they were going through their issues in their marriage. Two young individuals, they got married, trying to figure it out, bought a house, had 4 kids in like a matter of a few years. It was a lot financially, I understand now. And my father started drinking and became an alcoholic. So my mother wasn't tolerating it. But a lot of the time, it was basically me, the oldest, hovering and protecting my siblings. So these two grown parents can figure their life out. I was always the one nurturing the children. So that responsibility was brought on me, like at the age of 2. By 7 years old, I was hovering three little siblings into a closet so we can hide because there's glass and everything being thrown in the other room. So that's something that's happening a lot in our society today too, with these children who are not saying what they should say because they're protecting the parent because they're brought up in a toxic environment. And from the beginning, I'm not trying to say that they were bad parents, but there was toxicity in their relationship. And I took the blunt of it trying to take care of my siblings. So I've always protected both my parents. You know, I always tried to make sure that neither one was angry, keep the neutral balance in the house. If I knew my mother was going to be upset when daddy came home drunk, I would run to him first. He would lay out on the couch. I would take his shoes off, his jacket off, and get him nice and comfortable on the couch and put his shoes in the closet so my mother wouldn't complain. And that's how I've been basically my whole life, trying to neutralize it.
I hope you guys can hear it, and I'm sure there are some people already identifying with the peacemaker, the peacemaker. And what happens with lots of this, and I identify with some of it, Mio, is that you become the peacemaker for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
and that is a burden beyond belief. It's like nobody gives you instructions. You don't go through a training. You don't go to college. You don't go. It's like embedded in you, and you do it, and then you translate it into everything you do.
Yeah.
So the little girl gets to a place where now she's the oldest sister. She's taking care of her siblings, protecting them as she knows how to do. What happens to Meal in that?
There was no meal. I was when my mother left my father, she had to work and she had jobs, and my responsibility as the oldest was, which every other oldest person knows, I had to come home from school, make sure the kids were taken care of. I cooked, I cleaned, helped them with their homework, made sure when mommy came home the house was clean because mommy worked hard, but I was trying to make her life easier again. So, it was more of meal got pushed aside and I was like second mommy. So like I was like I turned into mommy. And a lot of my mother's worries and concerns got thrown on me. Because of the oldest, I was very observant and I can see her crying and I can feel her anger and her frustration when it was time to pay bills and having to work two jobs. So anything to make my life easier, again, is what I tried to do. So meal was put aside. And, even growing up, my siblings in school, they were doing amazing in school. They had great grades. Meal was failing because Meal didn't have time to take to do her homework. I didn't have time to study. I didn't have time to put in the work like my siblings did because my job was to make sure that they did their homework and the house was clean and Meal's responsibility was to make sure the kids were taken care of. So Meal put herself aside, neglected her needs and wants, and made sure that my siblings were taken care of.
At what age does Meal think that she feels love? Because in your book, you're really good about defining think, uh, finding love. And I think any of us who have some mileage, some wisdom in our lives, we know the difference between um, what people call puppy love, but this is way before puppy love. At what age did you discover, hey, maybe I can entertain this?
So I I thought about entertaining love when I was 13 years old. I was walking home from school one day and I was introduced to this gentleman in the corner with his friends. I was in junior high school, seventh grade, walking home with my friends. But I always looked overly developed. I've always had that shape like these girls today. You look older than what you look. So when he paid me attention, I was shocked. Number one, because no one really had ever paid me attention, or I never even focused on anyone paying me attention. I had to go home and my mind was set, and that's where I was focused on. But for some reason that day, I said hi, he said hello, he walked me home. The next day, he did the same thing, and next thing you know, I am feeling these things towards this man that I've never felt before. And that ended up being a relationship. That relationship lasted about almost a year that I hid it from my mother. I did let my siblings know, but I had to pay them to stay quiet. I was giving them my stuffed animals, my food, whatever, my half a chicken my brother wanted, like anything to keep them quiet from my mother finding out. And it felt different. It felt good to have someone like really love me and pay me attention and show me things. And then it got to the point where, I was being shown some things that I was actually shown as a little girl, but in a different way. Now at 13, I was willing. It didn't feel wrong because I was willing to just receive the love from someone. Until one day, my mother decided to go to a party with my siblings, and I told her I felt sick. That was just the excuse for me to sit back at home. And I called this gentleman and I invited him over. And my idea was just sit down and watch television. A 13-year-old to watch television alone with him. Finally, we were always meeting in the alleys or somewhere in the public. And he came over and we were watching television. And not too long into watching television, he started, you know, touching me a little aggressively. And I told him, stop. I don't, let's just watch television. And he kept on. And then he basically told me I didn't come here to watch television. So I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I didn't come here to watch television. You know what I mean. And he ended up forcing himself on me and with one hand had one both of my arms behind my head while he did what he had to do with the other hand. And to make a long story short, at 13 years old in my mother's house in the living room couch, I was raped by this individual who left me there bleeding, crying, and told me that if I ever told anyone, he knows where I live, and he would hurt my family. And
I just want every little girl, whoever hears this, and I've said it myself, no means no. I even believe in teaching my granddaughter, who's 14. At 7 or 8, I was already teaching her stomp, kick,
mhm,
punch, run, stop, kick, punch. Um, and you see things like this to this day. I sit in groups or in meetings or in conversations where young women were date raped. And the excuse is, if she would not call him, si ella no lo hubiese llamado, ella fue quien lo invitó, ella lo estaba cucando. There's different rules to this day for girls and boys, for men and women. And this is something that stays with you, and you do such a good job, painfully, in the book, explaining the feelings that you have to live with afterwards. So now this innocence, this relationship, this attention that was given to you, all of this kind of rips you apart. Because now again, we don't understand, right? And now again, we don't you have Carmen Cotto here, who's another great writer who's written her book about being able to survive such horrific things. We have men here, believe it or not, who have experienced this from loved ones as well. And I will tell you that, Mio, you're so brave to be able to put this, but your words are so kind. You say things like, my mom had to work. I wouldn't do this because of my mom. I kept it a secret because I didn't want to hurt anybody. I bought the silence of my brother and sister because I thought that was the best thing to do. And what the heck do you do at 13? Because we think we know something, right? At
yeah,
13, with all of this pain, all of this agony, all of this misunderstanding of what someone can do to you and get away with it. Because the biggest fear is they're going to hurt my family. And at 13, we believe it.
yeah. I mean, I that night I was so broken. But that night I for some reason I just snapped out of it. I've always just snapped whatever I go through. I literally went upstairs, grabbed a rag, cleaned the couch because it was stained with blood and everything, and I put the pillow over. I made sure the living room looked the way that my mother had it, and I just went upstairs and I just took a shower and I cried in the shower. And then the next day I had to go to school, and then the next day he was standing there in the corner. So I had to walk to school and still see this guy that just did this to me and threatened to do something to me or my family. And after a while, about a good month went by, I just felt so guilty and I just like was so worried that my mother would find out and my father and they would be so disappointed and my father, what would he do to this man? And my mom, I don't want my mom to go to jail. You know, this was my mistake. I should have never did it. I'm just going to take care of it myself. If my mom's going to kill me, I'm just going to kill myself. So I started my mind just started convincing myself that it would be better for me to die because I didn't
And
want.
we're gonna go there, Mio, because I think it's so important. Um, so at 13, we're speaking to Miosotys Santiago. I call her Mio. I've gotten permission to do that.
Mhm.
Who's the author of Little Book, That's the Big Book. And that's the best
Mhm.
way I can divide. I can, God's diamond. And I will tell you, if you're interested, we're buying 5 copies from her, and we can get them to you because it's definitely a book to read. It's definitely a book to read. If you're a grandparent, if you're a parent, if you're a survivor, if you're a thriver, if you're going through it, um, it goes from the little girl to the teenager being woman. So it's very powerful, to say the least, and it's so hard that we have to listen to these painful stories to put some validation to the pain of people. We should just be able to believe people when they say
Yes.
something has happened to me, and
Yes.
we don't always have words for it, is what I tell people all the time, is we don't always have words for it. So at this point, you have convinced yourself again that you should be the sacrifice party. Not mom, not dad. I don't want them to get in trouble, so on and so forth. The best thing is for me to terminate my life.
Yes.
How does that happen? And we're so happy God chose to say, you're staying here.
Yes. He did. So again, I decided to take my own life. But my mother worked 2 jobs, and she used to have sleeping pills in the medicine cabinet. And I picked the day, I picked the time, I wrote my siblings love letters telling them how much I love them. I left each of them assigned gifts like my radio and my favorite teddy bear and my fishes and everyone. I wrote my parents letters and I left everyone I love letters. And I picked the day, and it was a morning that I knew my mother would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So while everyone slept, I went. I already had brought upstairs a cup that I kept by the side of the bed, and while everyone went to sleep, I woke up, tiptoed to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror and I said, "You're going to do this." Now, I'm the type of person that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So, by me convincing myself that I was going to kill myself and not do it, I was going to let myself down. That's how I thought. You're letting yourself down. You have
So,
to.
Leo, can I point out the fact that there's already pain in the house when mama needs sleeping pills? Mama's not sleeping. Mama's struggling as well.
Correct.
I'm not justifying in any way, but what I want to bring everybody to understand is that pain brings pain, and it gets
Correct.
recycled and it gets recycled because we don't talk about it. We don't tell our kids. We don't sleep. We get medication to sleep. Kids are watching. Mio know where to find the medication. She's preparing like a champ again, like a champ. That's the only thing I can think of somebody who's going into the ring over and over and over again. So, and sacrificing over and over again. So you put this all together, leave your brothers and sisters a present, letters, and do the same thing for your mom. So there was
Mhm.
already pain in that household. This is how this
Mhm.
child is able to get this medication and plan what she believes is going to be her last day. Tell us
Yeah.
about that day.
I woke up around 5 o'clock in the morning while my mother and my siblings were sleeping, and I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I said, "You're going to do this." So I grabbed the cup that I had on the side of the bed, and deep down inside, I was hoping that someone was gonna wake up and find me and catch me and stop me. But I think more of the pain that pushed me to do it even more is because that happened a month ago and no one noticed anything. Nothing was noticed. So I felt like I was invisible and like my pain was invisible. How could you not notice what just happened to me? But as now that I'm older, I realize my mom, she was on sleeping pills because she had to work 2 jobs because she came from Santo Domingo. She didn't pass the 5th grade, so she wasn't educated as a Hispanic. immigrant from Santo Domingo, so all her jobs had to be in warehouses and manufacturing companies, and they didn't pay her a lot of money. So she had to do what she had to do. And, that's happening now in households with low income, parents, especially single mothers, and the father's not there. That was my situation. So I ended up opening up every pill bottle, and I just started swallowing. It took me about a good hour, maybe, to swallow everything. I made sure I screwed the cap back on and laid everything back where they were, so my mother wouldn't know exact right away that I was in the medicine cabinet. So I just laid back down in my bed, and I said, my prayers, and I just waited. And that wait ended up, I started feeling groggy. I started feeling a little dizzy. But by the time I tried to get up, my body was so heavy that I couldn't move, and I just fell asleep. I can tell you that my sister tells me by what her version is. When they woke up in the morning to go to school, I was already on my side, foaming out of the mouth. So my mother got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and she went to work, but she didn't look in the room to check on us because we always got our stuff ready in the morning. So she didn't even know her daughter was dying in the room when she went to work. And they ended up calling EMTs. EMTs ended up coming. My blood pressure, everything was low. I ended up being rushed to hospital where this is where I say I gave myself to Jesus when I was 13 years old. I can remember just being in this bright light. It's like it's like getting placed inside of a light bulb with your eyes open, but your eyes don't hurt. There's just light everywhere. And I just felt this peace. I was floating. And I was trying to look to see where I was, but it was just light everywhere. I didn't see anything but light. And then I just heard this voice telling me it is not your time. It was a male voice telling me it is not your time. And at 13 years old, I was telling the voice, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I want to stay. And the voice just told me 3 times, a total of 3 times, it is not your time. And I said, please, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And then I just felt my body falling and descending, and my body just jerked up. And that's when they hit me with the defibrillator one last time and they brought me back to life. So from the age of 13, I experienced my encounter with the afterlife. I heard the voice of Jesus. I felt the peace of where it is that we're all going one day. And even after that, I was in the hospital for a while, and that's when they found out, and my mother found out that I attempted suicide, and there was a man involved, and what happened, and my siblings were being now questioned, and all this happened. Meanwhile, I was in the hospital, and I made a promise. I made a promise to whoever sent me back that I will do whatever it is you want me to do for the rest of my life to bring people closer to you. And that's been my purpose my entire life.
I have to tell you that you're getting a lot of love here. Um, and I know that's not the reason you do it for hearts and all this kind of stuff, but we have some good messages that I want you to feel because I know this is difficult for any survivor, including myself. And there's a couple of us here. We have Saimad with us, who I love and you dearly will see a makeover by a survivor, which I think you will like very much. I mentioned Carmen Cotto. I'm sorry this happened to you. It angers me, also a survivor, because of my own experience. And we have Anthony Perez, who says, love this life, and I'm sorry this happened. Very sorry, but God is wonderful. Bless you.
Thank you.
Then we have Moko Yomba here, and she says, I know that feeling oh so well. I was so upset and disappointed when I woke up from my open heart surgery. By the way, that's my daughter.
Wow.
So nobody worry. I'm getting questions already. She is coming back. This is just phase one of our interview because it is so powerful because her book is so little, so big. And so I want you guys to remember that it's this book is an investment. It's something you should be discussing in your living room. It's something you should be doing at trainings. Is you should be hiring this woman. Her prices are very comfortable. And you should be bringing her so people can actually say, I want to bring you to another place, which is not even a segue because we need to like talk and talk more and more and more. And Miosotys has already agreed to do more of that with us
Mm-hmm.
here live. This woman is the mother of three. I added one. I want to give her another child, so I don't know. However, in you are a survivor and a victim at the same time of 9/11.
Yes.
I want you all to know that if you think you had it hard, when you read this woman's story, her bare feet, and I mean that literally, running in the streets. In 9/11, I was in Washington, D.C. We had no idea what happened. Everybody was thrown through the ground at the hotel. Nobody touched anything. We had no idea what was going on. I was there in business. No idea. But 9/11 happened for you, and you were going to work, and your loved one, you had found love, real love, that delicious love, that one that you want to eat with and drink with and makes you breakfast and you want to have breakfast with. And she describes this. I mean, I'm telling you, feel like you're in the room with her. Even when he kisses you before he goes goodbye, I felt that kiss, by the way, because I
I'm
have that
good.
kiss here. Yes, 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 yes. And you're um want to see him for breakfast. I've had that also. After 20 years, I still have that for my husband. So I felt I couldn't put the book down. Um, 9/11 happens. You are going to work. Tell us about that.
So the day before 9/11, my fiance was visited by his coworker and asked if he could switch shifts with him because he was expecting a baby and he wanted to go to the appointment. So he worked 9 to 5, so did I. So we would always get on the train together and make it to work. That morning, he got up and he started getting himself ready for work. I laid in bed as I watched him in his uniform, and he was all dressed and he was leaving to go to work. So I got up and I went to go use the restroom, and he grabbed me by my arm and he just put his hands right on my face and he looked at me and he said, "You know, you're the best thing that ever happened to me." And I said, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me too. Like, can I just go to the bathroom?" Like, and he was like, I mean it. Like, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. I said, "And you're the best thing that ever happened to me too." So he said, "Call me when you get to." And he gave me a kiss on my forehead and he walked out the door. That morning, as I was getting ready to go to work, I had three little girls. They were responsible for getting themselves ready for school. I laid out the clothes, but we had to go to work. And in New York, you grow up quick. So I have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 3-year-old. No, 11, 9, 3, getting themselves ready for school. I'm on the bus. I lived in Jamaica, Queens. I'm on the bus heading to Parsons Boulevard to catch the E train to Chambers Street. Halfway down, my oldest daughter calls me and she says, "Mommy, get off the bus." So I said, "Why? I'm going to be late." She said, "Brittany missed her bus." My middle daughter missed her bus. The baby was acting up. My oldest daughter, which was like a little mini version of me, was getting the kids ready. There goes those generational little curses, not curses, but what we hand over to our children. So I said, "Cassandra, I can't get off the bus. I'm going to be late." She's like, "Please, Ma, I don't want to deal with this right now. I want to go to school." So I ended up getting off on the next bus stop. I transferred, went across the street, took the bus back home, and I ended up taking the girls all to school. By the time I took the bus back to Parsons, jumped on the E train to Chambers Street, I walk off on Chambers Street and I start walking through the plaza. As I'm walking through the plaza, I grab my phone to call my fiance to tell him I'm running late to come downstairs because we always ate breakfast in the plaza. And I'm looking down on my phone, walking into Tower One, and all of a sudden I heard this loud noise. And when I looked up, it was just a huge plane, and it just hit the building. That's how fast it happened. Me working at the World Trade Center, I worked security, the unique securities down at the visitors desk. So automatically my instincts kicked in and I went running into the tower. As I was running into the tower, a Port Authority police officer grabbed me because we was all just startled. All you heard was this explosion and you can feel the rumbling underneath you. She grabbed me and I said, "What's going on?" And she just grabbed me and she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I have to go look for my fiance. He's upstairs. He's upstairs." She's like, "You're not going anywhere." By then, people are already running. Everyone's running out of the plaza. She grabbed me. She's like, "We gotta go." So it's this woman, she's a New York City Port Authority police officer, grabbed me. She says, "We gotta go and we gotta go now." And I'm like, "I can't. My fiance's up there." So she grabbed my hand. We ran out of the building and we started running across the plaza with debris and everything, falling. It was more paper than anything because the first explosion it hit the backside of Tower One. So we was just running through whatever debris was falling, and we ran across the plaza, and she handed me over to someone on Broadway. That's where I stood the entire time. I watched the second plane hit. I watched the people jumping. I heard the noise of everybody that hit the floor, the chaos, the faces of people looking up at the tower. We were all just stuck. We were stuck. I literally was stuck until the second plane came and hit Tower Two. That's when we that's when we really realized something was wrong. But I still didn't move. I had my phone in my hand trying to call my fiance. There was people that I worked with that were walking up and down the streets, and it was just such a surreal experience that I, I can't even explain. I can't even explain what it was like standing on Broadway and watching all this happening when I worked in these towers. All my friends were in the towers. My fiance was in the tower. So many things was going on. It felt like a movie. It was a nightmare. It was a movie. I was like waiting to wake up. I had to just wake up already because I didn't want to see anything else. But as time went by, of just being numb and standing there, that's when, as we were looking up, we noticed the tip of Two World Trade Center moved, and it just started falling. And I was looking up. There was this man who just said, "Ma, we have to run." Some Puerto Rican man, and he grabbed me by my arm and he pulled me, and we just went running down, Broadway. But the tower collapsed so fast, we just literally got just a gust of wind just came like right right at us. It felt like a volcano just erupted, and all the ash and everything was coming right for us. And we didn't run fast enough. I was hit on the green. I was hit with something on my back. I ended up flying onto the street, hovering underneath the car, and just waiting until whatever happened was going to happen. And that's when you just heard the silence. The silence did it for me. I didn't know if I was dead or alive. I thought I died and I went to heaven. I didn't know what was going on at that point. And it took a little bit of time for me to make the decision to get up and try to figure out what happened. So that first gulp of air that I took in, I started choking. So I ended up having to take off my shirt and I wrapped it around my face to try to breathe. And from there, it was just I was blind. I was blind like in fog. I couldn't see anything. So I was feeling my way around. I was stepping over things There were people there, and just feeling myself around, trying to get out of this fog. Um, I tell the story is funny because as I was trying to get out of the fog, I heard the clicking of a bike, and I just heard the clicking of the bike, and it started getting closer. And then when the individual who was probably someone delivering mail or delivering something on a bike, it passed by, and I said, "Please, can you help me?" And I just heard the voice say, "Follow me, just follow me." So I started following the clicking of the bike, but he was moving so fast I couldn't keep up, and I just could hear the bike in the distance. But I just followed the sound of the bike, and I was as I made my way onto the sidewalk, I was feeling on the wall. I just made a turn, and that's when I looked up, and there was a huge beam of light from the sun. It was a beautiful day that day. It was beautiful, crisp, beautiful, sunny day, nice, fresh air. It was just I can still smell it. I can still feel it. And I'd seen this beam of light just shining from the sun right on down to the street. I started running towards the light, and as I started getting closer to the light, is when I things started becoming clearer, and I can like see people, and I can hear people, and people were hugging each other and holding each other, and everyone was covered in ash, and that's when I finally just started coming out of the cloud, and wherever I was standing, the first thing I automatically decided to do was look up, and Tower One was still standing there. It was still standing. So I still had a little bit of hope in me. But as I was walking, away asking people, what happened? I didn't know what happened. Everything just happened so fast. I was looking up at Tower One, where my fiance still was in, and I was hoping that he made it out. That's when I seen the little tilt of the tip of one World Trade just happened, and I just watched Tower One collapse. And that's where my heart just became cold. And not in a way that it became cold, but I truly witnessed with my own eyes how we have no control of our life whatsoever. We have no control of our life whatsoever. And to have lost the person who gave me so much hope as a woman, especially after experiencing domestic violence, he showed me how valuable I was, that I was a queen, that I deserved so much. He treated me like a queen. He talked to me like a queen. He never disrespected me, never talked to me any kind of way. He put me first before he put himself. He showed me um, that I was valuable, that I was valuable. And one moment, because the enemy's busy here.
That's okay. While you do your fixing over there, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know that this is not even a quarter of her story. Again, when I describe her as a boxer, I can't think of somebody who probably has a big medal going in and out, in and out. I don't know who can take this medal away from this woman, but the fact that she is, and she's coming back, because I know people are like asking, is she coming back? Is she coming back? Yes. But meanwhile, while the enemy's trying to mess with you, which we won't let him do because you know how we do.
Yeah, okay,
All
keep
right.
going. I'm back. But go ahead and talk.
Um, you have Antonio Perez here, or Anthony Perez says, you're so welcome. Beautiful. I went through being burned 30% of my body, and I heard voices who wanted me to wake up from my coma. God is so wonderful. 10 years later, I'm here praising my Lord and Savior. I
Amen.
just want to make a clarification. I am not a religious person, I'm a believer. There's a difference. I don't walk around with trolls. I don't do none of that. So he who is offended is a troll, by the way. I walk with what I believe is my God. I'm not interested in religion. I'm not interested in none of that. I also wanted to share with you that thank you. This is from another man. So your target may be women, but I don't know. I don't know. Just saying.
I
Just
hope
making
it reached the men.
observations.
I'm hoping it reached the men too.
Thank you for your story. Sometimes I need to be reminded of how lucky I was, no matter how bad. Things can get, it will and can get better. Thanks again. Praise God. I cannot believe that you are still talking about God. Praise God. We're blessed to hear your living testimony. Ruben Santiago says, love you, my beautiful, brave wife.
My husband.
Ruben, Ruben. Well, he clearly says my beautiful wife. So, listeners, Ruben Santiago is the husband. Okay, Ruben Santiago is the husband. Marisol Wick also says, praise God. We are going to have her back, and we just have a few more minutes before we go. We are having her back. I promise you. I promise you. She's already said yes.
Yes,
But these are the kinds of conversations we want to have here on Lily Sin Barreras. There are so many people. Yes, your husband says yes. I guess we got the green light. He says yes. We have so many sisters like Miosotys who I've never had a cup of coffee with. I have to be honest with you. True or false, Miosotys? We've
true.
never had a cup of coffee, not a glass of
No,
wine, not a
no.
beer. I have no idea where you live. You have no idea where I live. We've come across in common events and probably traveling similar thoughts about what we want to do with our lives. However, I cannot tell you that her smile brightens up the place. Her laughter is also catchy. If anybody has ever heard Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, how she laughs and you just have to laugh with her, that's me. I remember looking back and going, damn, that girl got a good laugh. Because it comes from the gut and it comes from the heart. She's willing to share her space. I was watching the entire time. That's what I do. I watch. And I watch how much love you were giving people. We lost our sister, Tina, who made sure that we got together so often and celebrated one another and was not in any fear or envy or a disregard of our blessings as anything. She wanted to celebrate them.
Yes.
I would say to anybody, pick up this book. We're going to give away a couple of them. If you're interested, hit us in the box and we will have Miosotys sign them for you and put one of those beautiful things that she as a writer has done herself. But I just want to share something that is very interesting always to me, how people find love in tragedy. In tragedy. Most people would be in a little ball, fetal position somewhere. I love you, Mima, JJ. Um,
I
I'm
love
the
you too,
reader.
JJ.
um, God's diamond. Perseverance will become your superpower. Never give up on yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, write that one down. That's going to be a contest next time she comes on. God's diamond. Perseverance will become your superpower. So this boxer is going back in the ring, back in the ring, back in the ring, and as you can hear, she's married. Her heart wasn't closed. How do you do that? That's another show, and we're bringing you back for that. The reflections in this book. This is a book that you can have by your bed, literally by your bed. Share with your daughters, share with your grandchildren, share with your sisters. Do a book reading, do a book club. Have her come in, walk you through it. There's so much in here. It is dripping with pain, knowledge. I was telling her before we came on camera, Emil, that when you were running without shoes, which you can read here, and she'll tell us more about, I wanted somebody to give her shoes when she was being hurt by this 13 or 14, 16-year-old. I wanted to punch him in the face. I wanted names.
He was actually when we found out, he lied to me. I told him I was 13. He told me he was 18, but he was actually 21. He was 21.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to, Margarita says blessings. I want people to know that you have a sister in your community who has written a book that is pouring with wisdom, knowledge, dedication, and still love. So many of us are looking for a spiritual connection, whatever you want to call it. I call it between God and me. You know, I have fights. I don't know about you, Mio. I have fights in my car with him. I'm like, dude, you need to learn how to write memos. My first request for him is like, GPS, okay? Send me the GPS. And I always get the signal that says, stupid, I've been sending you the memo.
Yeah.
You just don't read it.
You just want to do your own thing. You're not
Is one
paying attention.
You're not paying attention. And you can read the signs in your life however you want, however you want. But there's always someone who comes into your life that impacts you. And Mio was one of mine. And
Thank you.
that's why I usually, no, I mean it from the heart. And the people that know me know me. You know, I don't sugarcoat. Um, I feel that, you know, whenever God calls me, I want to be able to at least say, hey, I did my best, I think. And it's always going to be a question mark, right? I think, like a kid who goes, I didn't do it. But your belief in God is very powerful. Your words are very powerful. Your style is one to envy. Oh my God, the girl! Look up her webpage. Look it all up. It's just darling. It's dynamic. How do you take dripping pain and still walk in love? Still be the mother of three girls. There's such beautiful dedication in your book to your girls. There's this, and I'll let you explain it. How did you, and with this we have to close, so they tell me.
Yep.
So but whatever, because that's how we do. How do you come up with how to explain it to your daughters? Because I have a 32-year-old daughter who I still see like the 7-year-old walking around. She still hates me because how I dressed her, because I didn't have that cool style that you did, that you do.
This
So
is all goodwill stuff.
no, no, girl, but I didn't even pull that one together. She looks at me, she goes, Mom, really? She has this picture of me taking her to the Biggie, and she still is not forgiving me for the outfit of the Biggie. And she's 32. So I didn't do very good in that area. Um, Tell me, when do you become aware that you need to write something for your girls?
When I became a grandmother. When I became a grandmother and I looked at my grandson, it was just a different type of love that hit me. And as each grandchild was born, I have four now, it's even more of a greater passion within me to try to make a difference in this world. And I'm doing this for my grandchildren and for the future generations that I'm trying to break some generational curses and the things that my daughters went through growing up because I was a single mother. I wanted to make sure I left them like a little to go book to show them in case anything happened to me. This is how you're gonna get through. Because my worst fear was always not being there for them. But I always tried to equip them with life. But I've always kept them in church and just showed them that just be grounded. My belief in Jesus is so strong that everything I do, he has to get the glory, even down to the book, even to the way that I taught my children, even to the way that I am in my marriage or my friendships. I feel that as a representative of Jesus, you have to show love all the time. You have to. And a lot of times I've been taken advantage of and people taking my weakness for my kindness for a weakness, but it's all a representation of God's love for people. So my daughters are an extension of me, and I want them to carry on like my legacy of who I was, so they can carry it on to my grandchildren and equip them. So at least if I can't change the whole generation, at least I can change the generation that's an extension of me, and it's just carried on in the family. It's all about family. I'm all about family. I'm all about individuals who don't know that we're family. We're all connected. We're all connected. It's all about connecting and growing and just showing love, the love of God, wherever we go. And if I can just make that little bit of a dent in this world, and I fulfill my purpose. And my mission statement is your pain becomes your purpose. You shouldn't let your pain break you. It should become something that you want to Not that you want to hate it so bad, but you want to love it so much that you want to change your pain so no one else goes through it. So that's why my book, I put all of my time in this book because I don't want this generation of girls to go through it. I don't want my granddaughters to go through it. I don't want these teenage girls going through it. You know, social media and television, this is a whole other topic, but they're so they're so bombarded with toxicity and illusions of what the enemy wants these poor girls and young men to think that what love is and how you should look and how you should dress, even grown women, as myself. You know, it's just something that I want to try to change as one of God's warriors. I'm in the army of God, and now more than anything, especially after the pandemic, my passion and my purpose is to totally be make disciples of people, and it's just someone making a disciple out of me, and just to pray, and just be the be the change, and just be the example. That's all I want to do is be the change and the example in God's army that He's real and He loves you, and whatever you've gone through, and no matter what you're going through, no matter how much pain you've been through, God is a healer. He's a restorer. He will get you through this thing. Just hold on to His hand. One of the chapters in my book, hold on to God's hand. That's all I've been doing my whole life. Even though I was blind and couldn't see, I was holding on to God's hand and never letting go. Never letting go. Don't ever let go. Just don't give up. Don't give up. That's the message that I have to say.
I can't wait to have you back. For everybody, Brittany Turner's taking care of it for all of us. She's telling us where you can get the book. However, for
That's
those,
my daughter.
oh, hi, daughter. You got a cool mom. Um, for all of you, I would really, really consider if you're a teacher, if you're trying to mobilize communications, if you're trying to talk about issues that are difficult, her book allows you to do that. And many of us are believers and love God and all of that kind of stuff. That doesn't mean you stop being who you are and wear your makeup and be cool and do whatever. Check her out. I'm telling you, she's a powerhouse. But we must honor each other's pain. And her book
Yes.
does such a great job at the way that you explain. And we haven't even gotten to half of it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. The book, you are so kind and generous to the journey of your parents. When I read it, I thought, wow, how do you do that with so much pain? It is so easy to go to that place that said, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. All of this happened to me because of them, because of them, because of them, because of them. And you two, a month ago, were caring for that father. I identify not with the departing of the body of the father. I identify with a father who was an active alcoholic into his 60s. My dad is in his 70s. So I had the opportunity to get him, and I have him full body, for mind, for spirit. You didn't have much of an opportunity to do that. And you took care of him, and to God claimed him. And here you are. And you're actually sitting, before we close, I want you to know that she was so brave. And she said to me, I am sitting in Dad's room, but it's okay. And she showed me a little bit around, but it's okay. He'll be here with me. You have to have a lot of love. And sometimes we need to learn how to love. But it starts with something you say all the time, with us. So I highly encourage you to purchase the book. Hit us up. We have a couple of books that we're purchasing so we can give them out. If you're interested in, look up her website. My team is also putting all of that together for you. So you'll have, all of her information there. And if I could say something, is hire her, bring her to your high school, bring her to your churches. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, and I always say the same thing. Stop cheating our people for their job. Don't ask people to be doing everything for free. Cut it out. Okay, Jesus needs us to make money because we still have to, as TD Jakes likes to say, we still have to buy toilet paper, we still have to buy water, we still have to buy our
Mm,
clothes. So stop jipping each other, okay? So when you invite her, hire her. Trinity College, you've hired me. You might want to think of hiring me. Or Central, all of the colleges, all of the clinicians that you know follow our show and you follow. It is time to hire Emil. It's time to hire someone who actually has lived it, pushed through boxes all the time, because that's the only thing I can compare it to, like a boxing ring, and you voluntarily go in. It's like, get out. And she's like, no, 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 I gotta go in. But you gotta get hurt.
God
So
got
it's
me.
yeah, God got me. So we love having you. Thank you for choosing to be
Thank you
here.
so much for having me. Like this was an honor for me. Like you made me
Oh,
feel so comfortable. And
really?
yes,
That's
I feel
sweet.
so comfortable. I do. Thank you
Yay,
so much.
yay.
Thank you.
Well, we are having our team. Some of them are here now. They will hit you up very soon. Give us the dates. I know we will have to make mass announcement when you're coming because people are wondering when are you coming back. And let's continue to talk about your book and
Sure.
your wisdom. En la casita, en mi casita, aquí, esta boricua. Te dice que te quiere mucho, que Dios te
Gracias.
bendiga, que Dios te
Gracias.
acompañe a ti, a los tuyos, que
Gracias.
sanes pronto, pronto, pronto. Give yourself the time you need. Um, give yourself all the time you need. Get all the love that people give you. Hold on tight to that husband of yours. Allow him to hold on tight to you. Um, and welcome back,
Thank
my
you.
sister.
Thank you so much.
Buenas
And
noches
thank
a
you for
todos
loving me.
ustedes. Of course, you're welcome back. Oh, you think I was playing? You coming back? My team is already working on it. And thank you to your daughters for allowing us to share your story and for them chiming in and telling us where they can write your book. And I think that
They're my
they
heroes. My daughters are my heroes. They're all three of them. They're just amazing. And you know, they give me the push, the extra push that I need to be their role model and just to be better and my grandchildren and my family, my husband, everyone. I just the push they give me is unbelievable.
and you have a really good picture of the three of them in here with you in the book, which I thought this girl can really pick her pictures. So I invite everybody, pick it up. If you don't get to us soon enough before they're gone, you can't even do this with my lighting. But you see that little girl? That's Mio today. Mamita, que Dios te bendiga, que Dios te acompañe. Everybody, I'll see
Gracias.
you next Monday. We will see you on Instagram now because that's what we do. We do a chicken. A chicken. Te quiere pollo. Te quiere pollo.
Con arroz con gandules.
Te quiere pollo. We do a check-in every Monday on Instagram. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Good night.